Let me tell you a story about how I proved my psychiatrist wrong. In the fall of 2019, I was doing my master's at the Harvard Divinity School, and I was working full time, and I was hustling. I was making good grades, working, traveling, and I was hardly sleeping. I rode on my success and jumped into other projects, full-time projects. And before I knew it, I was sleeping maybe 1 to 2 hours a night and not really feeling the need to fall asleep. I felt powerful, very social. I felt invincible. And then at some point, I became a little delusional. Being in a place like Harvard University, I thought that some massive shift was about to occur and that I had some significant role to play in it. I thought maybe I was having a religious experience. After all, I was at the Divinity School. So I reached out to my mentor and I asked him, hey, what's going on? How come I'm seeing things that normal people don't see? How come I'm seeing meaning in things like colors and numbers? And why am I feeling immense amounts of fear and paranoia and racing thoughts? He told me I should go see a psychiatrist because it's possible that I was having some experience, but I was showing some grave signs of imbalance. So reluctantly, I went to a doctor, a psychiatrist, and after a mere 5 minutes, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I thought to myself, what? Bipolar disorder? What does that even mean? Does that mean that I go from happy to sad to angry to euphoric all in a matter of a minute? Long story short, I was put on 4 separate medications, mood stabilizers, antipsychotics, and those knocked me out to the point that I didn't know the difference between my wakeful haze and my nightmarish dreams. About a month later, I snap out of it. My parents had taken me out of the school, brought me back to Houston, and I felt like I was a baby all over again. I didn't know how to go to the bathroom. I couldn't read. It felt like a career-ending injury for an aspiring scholar like myself. But the worst thing was hearing from my psychiatrist over and over again that I had a lifelong mental health illness and that I had to be on medication for the rest of my life. That was the worst part. It felt like a death sentence, a sentence that meant that I couldn't live my life fully again. A few months passed by and I started dealing with suicidal ideation, thinking that there's no way I can live with this, living in the haze of the side effects of these medications, brain fog, constipation, and a terrible, terrible migraine that didn't go away for over a year. I said to myself, there's no way I'm going to live my life for the rest of my life like this. Either I end it or I gotta find a way out. I remembered a story from when I was a child. We were taught that for every illness, there is an antidote. I trusted the people who would tell me this story, even though science was saying that there is no cure for this illness. I started searching on the internet, looking for voices that were going through something similar as me. And lo and behold, I did find voices of people saying, hey, it does get better. Hey, you don't have to be on medication for the rest of your life. Hey, you can live fully again. Even when I didn't believe it, I just held on to these words. I held on to the story that this lesson that I heard, that for every illness, there is an antidote and that recovery is possible. So At the end of 2020, I left my job that I was barely holding on to, being in the other side of bipolar disorder, which was depression. I had gone through various cycles of hypomania, mania, and depression in this year's time, from the fall of 2019 to the fall of 2020. And I said, you know what? Some of the things that I'm trying out on the internet, it's starting to work. This advice about being regular in my sleep, about my nutrition, about moving my body, about this mindfulness stuff, and having a support group, having a community. So I left my job. I became a full-time organic farmer out in French Lick, Indiana, of all places. And there, I got to spend time out in the fresh air, in the sun. I got to put my hands in the soil, and I got to recover from the real chaos that I had been for a little over a year. And lo and behold, in 3 to 4 months, my symptoms dramatically improved. I hired a nutritionist. I worked with an exercise coach. I even got a teacher training in yoga. And believe it or not, at the end of 2022, after a 2-year journey of nutrition, movement, mindfulness, community, and prioritizing sleep above all, I tapered off of my final medication at the end of 2022. To the surprise of my psychiatrist, who repeatedly told me, "You will be on medication for the rest of your life," he asked me, "Imran, I've never seen someone in your condition get better the way you have. How did you do it?" And I said, well, I pieced together these 5 pillars, these elements that just kept providing value to me of sleep, nutrition, movement, mindfulness, and community. And thus is the origin of Bipolar Harmony. I said, you know what? If this is something that provides me value and could have provided me value when I was first diagnosed, let me put this out there. Let me pay it forward. Just like when I was looking for help, desperately trying to get out of that painful cycle of symptoms and mania and depression and all of the comorbidities that come along with bipolar disorder, and breaking out of that cycle and moving towards a trajectory towards recovery and healing, let's do it. I want to pay it forward. I want to reach out. I want to help you by offering you the same story, the same voice that I heard, that recovery is possible. You can live a full life again, despite your bipolar diagnosis.